draw it as she remembered it.
And there was a door here, and a window here, right? This and the roof. Now that's the front, and looking from the back, on this side there was a piece that came down, like that, added on, and this in here was back to back with the fire that was inside and was used as a drying room. And you came through here into there. In here was our, what you call everything room. And here would be like the bedroom. Go through there was a little room there that I had, and out a back door.
Then she led us around to what is now the back of the cottage.
My God. Oh, my God.
Even the little window you put on your plan.
And once again, we saw the now familiar reaction of tears as the shock hit home. The doctor may have been moved, but that didn't sway his assessment of what we had found here in an old cottage in Somerset.
It should be a door, but I don't think it is. I think it's a window, and the door was closer.
Well, the slightly unsatisfactory thing is that there is supposed to be a door just to the right of this lean-to and a window towards the pine end. A window, in fact, which at one time lit the room in which Gwen slept. The door is now only a window, but admittedly it's got a great beam across that at one time might have accommodated the door.
If Gwen was right, we should be able to see her bedroom window, but there was no sign of it from outside.
Can't see that.
Well, could we go inside possibly and see that?
Now that she was at the cottage, Gwen knew where to go and what to expect inside. We went through what she said had been her father's bedroom.
What do you think, Doctor?
Yes, I think it has been a bit renewed, but...
Was there an upstairs?
Yeah, tell us.
That's
So,
where the tower.
You could see...
They're kind of making it the old shape.
Was that wall there, Gwen?
No, one big room. And see, there's...
Now, this question of the window, could we...
That was the... that indeed was more or less the position of the window as you chose it, I think.
Yeah.
Look,
And indeed it was. The tendrils of the ivy covering the outside view couldn't hide the unmistakable shape or the massive rock and smaller stones used to block the light of that window for the past long years.
Was this the right floor, Gwen?
There's a stone floor. It wasn't uneven like this. I suppose it's sunk a bit over the years and that, but
Yeah.
it wasn't uneven, it was even.
Is that the same sort of floor that's in Mr. Brown's cottage?
Oh, no, it's, they're more or less, well, similar, but more pockmarked, more marked,
More rough. Oh, yeah.
rubbed.
The Mr. Brown's cottage mentioned was yet another part of our search. Mr. Brown and Rose Duncan had met near one of England's oldest and most famous landmarks, a place Gwen had spoken of under hypnosis in Sydney.
You'll be able to see out. I want you to tell me, where are you?
The Abbey.
What's the name of the Abbey?
St. Michael's Abbey. They'll be taking stones out of St. Michael's Abbey to put on floor. You shouldn't do that.
5 miles away lies not St. Michael's, but Glastonbury Abbey, an ancient and plundered ruin even in the time of Rose Duncan. But the Abbey does lie in the shadow of St. Michael's Mount, crowned by the chapel of St. Michael.
Stones for a floor in the house. I shouldn't touch stones.
Did you see them move any stones at any time?
Oh, aye. Mr. Brownie put stone on his floor.
Gwen had told in trance of how Rose liked to visit the ruins of the Abbey, and how one day there she had cut her foot and been found hobbling by Mr. Brown, who lived a mile away on the far side. He'd taken her to his cottage and bathed and bandaged her injured foot, and she remembered him and his house for that kind act. Now she led us to where he had lived.
There'd be 5 houses on one side of the street.
That's it.
There'd be a second one from the end.
I'm sure that's it.
Across that west of England stream, 2 cottages only remain of the original 5.
The cottages are possibly what Gwen remembers. They're in the right spot. They are near a river. They, I do believe, were once cottages, although they're now a little home for chickens and things, but they are cottages, and we hear that they once had a fireplace. Rose Cottage itself, if I can call it that, now called Easton, well, when we arrived there, Gwen showed signs of distinct emotion, which might be convincing but need not be. What convinces me much more is that she did give beforehand a quite reasonable plan, as it were, of what it was going to look like. She showed us a pent roof and windows in approximately the right places, and the place, as a place 200 years old, is fairly convincing. One of the things that convinced me most was her pronunciation of Hornblotten as Blorton, because I happen to know that that is the form of pronunciation, and I happen to believe that Gwen probably didn't have access to the fact that it was the form of pronunciation. I don't think either she or any informants in Australia could have told her that. But there's one word that she has used which could be a crucial proof that she is really repeating something heard in a previous existence, and that is the obsolete West Country word tallet for a loft. So I think what remains now is for us to clean up the floor of this chicken house, which belongs to Jason's father here, and then we shall see if the markings tally with the markings which Gwen remembered on stones brought into here by her friend Mr. Brown.
Be a thick stone, square, and spiral, circle-like, and
It had a spiral circle on the stone.
aye, in corner on right side, and funny writing, like cut in rock, cut in stone.
To open your eyes and to stay, to remain in trance. I want you just to open your eyes, take the pen off me, and draw.
Now, this was something quite gripping. The markings she made were not writing, not anything formal, and that meant that if Gwen, under hypnosis, could see those strange and unique markings, and if we could find her stone, then we could either disprove her story or prove it solidly. This was where we would find out, one way or the other. It was 24 hours later, and the floor of that poultry shed was clean of a century's dirt and droppings. Farmer Dennis Simmons had been surprised to find there was a stone floor in his shed, and the distinctive Glastonbury Abbey stone at that, and even more startled when Gwen found the particular stone she had said would be there.
I think there was 2.
What are the odds against an Australian housewife in the late 20th century drawing under hypnosis the markings on a stone buried in England these hundreds of years and getting them anything like right? 1,000,000 to 1?
Circle.